How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Marshall Drive. Today is February 4th, 2021, and today we're obviously going to focus on the major Midwest snowstorm that's going to bring close to a foot of snow in many areas in the Midwest and potentially the Northeast. And we'll also talk about any potential future snowstorms that could impact the rest of the United States. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe. If you want to see more weather-related content, make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. But let's begin by first taking a look at the current radar map. And keep in mind, this is as of 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right now. And you see there's a long extending band of snow extending from Minnesota down to South Dakota and then throughout central Nebraska and even going as far south as Colorado and Kansas. And while this snow swath isn't necessarily broad in necessarily longitude, it's very long in the latitude direction, and it's a pretty long extending band of snow, which isn't anything I would say atypical for this year, since obviously a lot of moisture extends along the cold front. However, it's expected to grow even bigger and broader as the storm encounters more unstable air thanks to the strong ridge that's bringing very strong southerly winds to the eastern half of the United States to draw in that humid and very warm air further north to interact with this cold air and force it up aloft, which will create a much broader storm that will bring a lot more snow to the Great Lakes region. And the Futurecast radar predicts this will happen later during the morning time. So right around Thursday, 6 a.m., you see that snow is already in Minnesota, Iowa, as it moves at quite a decent pace as we head into the morning. And then by 10 a.m., it's already through Des Moines, and it's just past the Twin Cities, and now it's deep into Wisconsin, and we're seeing heavy snow squalls at times throughout Wisconsin, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of these squall lines could be associated with snowfall rates of 1 inch per hour at the most, since this storm will pretty much strengthen rapidly as a result of the strong convection in this area thanks to the very strong unstable air mass right around the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, and that'll create very treacherous conditions throughout Wisconsin head into Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, where you're going to see very heavy snowfall bands as a result of the increased amount of convection, and a lot of that heavy rain will change over to heavy snow, since there will be just enough cold air on the northern side of the storm to change a lot of that rain over to snow. And it's going to be one of those situations where the cold front's while it's bringing just enough cold air to bring snow throughout Wisconsin, it isn't dense or cold enough to completely dry out a lot of this humidity and precipitation through Wisconsin. So it's expected to be a very heavy snowfall threat for you guys head into Thursday afternoon, and then extending further and further into Thursday night. We see that snow extend to Michigan as it begins to wind down, I would say right around Milwaukee and Wisconsin. But we're seeing the snow even extend as far south as Ohio and Indiana. So watch out, especially if you're in the northern portion of those states, because you could definitely experience snow from this. And then we begin to see the storm continue to strengthen. However, by that time, most of the snow pretty much moves well further northward as this storm is gonna come to a point where the ridging will be a little bit too strong to allow for the snow to move very far southward. And obviously, since the storm's gonna be closer to the warmer Atlantic Ocean, there's gonna be the temperatures are gonna rise along the coast, so it's gonna force that rain snow line to move a little bit more in the northward direction to miss out on some of the bigger cities such as New York City and Boston and even Albany, where it's expected that the snow will move well to the north of a lot of these cities. And we might see some snow, I would say, just to the northwest of New York City, like in the metropolitan region, in the suburbs. However, I don't really expect much of any accumulation from this, mainly because the temperatures just going to be too high right around New York City metropolitan area, and I'm included in that sector. And the forecasted temperature in my area is going to be in the low 40s, which is well too high for any sort of much accumulating snow to occur, as you typically the max temperature that could be possible for snowfall accumulation is right around 35 to 36 degrees. The optimal snowfall accumulation temperature is obviously 32 degrees, where the temperature is freezing. However, there are definitely some times where snowfall could accumulate and stick on the ground at temperatures above freezing, such as 35, since as the snowflakes hit the ground, as the snowflakes melt, they absorb a lot of latent heat, and which is called latent heat of melting. I forgot the exact name, but the point is that once the snow, even though the temperature is above freezing during when it's snowing, the snowfall along the surface absorbs so much heat that it decreases the temperature below freezing right around the surface to allow for accumulating snowfall at 35 degrees. So, however, this won't seem to be the case, as 41 to around 40 degrees is well too high for any sort of snowfall accumulation to occur in the New York City metropolitan region. But you see that by Friday, most of the snow will move out by Friday night, and you might see some heavier snowfall bands right around, I would say definitely the higher elevations of the Adirondacks, but I wouldn't say anything major from this snowstorm at this point for the Midwest and the Northeast. Let's take a look at the GFS model to see what it's saying, and for the most part, it's agreeing with this Futurecast radar, where we're going to see that snowfall band that was initially very small and narrow become very broad by the time it hits, I would say, Illinois and Wisconsin, to a point where there's going to be a lot more snow in the region, and it will definitely maximize the snowfall potential right around Wisconsin and Illinois. And then this extends to Michigan as the storm continues to strengthen thanks to the increased amount of unstable air. We're at 985 millibars, which is quite low for a mid-latitude cyclone in the Midwest during the winter. And then it even strengthens further as it heads further northward, and then sort of changes its orientation more into a mid-latitude cyclone type storm. And the European also agrees with this forecast, as it's pretty much inevitable a major snowstorm is going to happen today throughout the Midwest, and you guys need to prepare all throughout the Great Lakes region, because this storm could bring over 10 inches of snow in your area, and you definitely do not want to underestimate it, because 10 inches of snow could just cause a lot of trouble on the roads and just make way for dangerous driving conditions. I've seen 3 inches of snow cause a lot of havoc, so imagining 10, especially when it's going to fall at a very fast pace, is definitely dangerous, and it's likely that you guys need to just stay indoors in Wisconsin, because the snowfall rates are just going to be too heavy, and there's just going to be too much of that snow to really be going out this Thursday, or today I should say. So here's a European, and it's very similar with the GFS model, as you could see, where there's just a little bit of rain right just south of Chicago, as they're both pretty much just extremely identical, and they're pretty much certain that this is going to be the forecast. There might be some small changes, such as where the rain and snow line sits, where especially in those regions, the uncertainty rises when you're close to the rain snow line, because any differences further northward or southward will make a big difference. But for those just up north of the rain snow line, it should be a pretty certain forecast that you're going to experience a major snowstorm from this. In terms of how much snow, let's show you guys the current future snowfall accumulation for this Midwest snowstorm, and you see a large area of 6 to 12 inches extending through Wisconsin, Michigan. So this is considered a major snowstorm when we're talking about 6 to 12 inches still possible throughout Green Bay, and this extends to the western shores of Michigan as well, and a lot of Wisconsin is at least going to get over 6 inches of snow, and then 3 to 6 just south of that, and just to the west and to the east of that, affecting Detroit, affecting Chicago, and affecting even the Twin Cities, where you could see 3 to 6 inches of snow. So keep that in mind, because over 3 inches of snow, especially in a very short time span, could just create havoc overall throughout the roads. And even if you're into like sledding or just snow in general, 3 to 6 inches is still a decent amount of snow, as that's about ankle high for some people. So it's still definitely something you guys don't want to mess around with when we're talking about 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then 1 to 3 just to the south of it, as it does seem like the storm right around Nebraska and Kansas and Missouri will be broad enough to bring any major snowfall to you guys. And then for the Northeast, in the darker blues, that's 3 to 6 inches, and the lighter blues, that's 1 to 3 inches. As mainly the interior north, this will be an interior Northeast throughout the Northeast, where they're going to get much more snow than let's say the areas further southward. So keep that in mind throughout the Northeast, that you might experience snow from this, but obviously the worst of the storm will be in the Midwest, and I want you guys to stay safe. Do not go out unless it's an extreme emergency, because it definitely could cause havoc right around the Great Lakes region. Now, in terms of other snowstorms we have to keep in mind in the future. So remember that snowstorm in the past like 2 videos I've been talking about that has potential of forming in the Northeast? I would say now that it's becoming less and less likely we're going to see any type of snowstorm along the Northeast. And the reason is that both the computer models just been leaning on bringing this storm well far out to sea, and they've been persisting on it for the past several runs. So I'm at a point where I think I just find it less and less likely that this low pressure will move along the coast and bring a major snowstorm to the U.S., because both of the computer models just been leaning and persisting on bringing this storm well out to sea to really affect the Northeast and bring a major snowstorm. If it were to move up the Northeast, it will definitely be a major snowstorm, and something that will be huge for the Northeast, especially since some areas in the Northeast received over 30 inches of snow. However, that it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case this time around, as it seems like the jet stream is going to position itself to the point where it's going to promote more of easterly. It's going to promote more westerly upper level winds rather than southerly upper level winds with this storm that would push the storm further northward a little quicker to affect the Northeast, as it seems like the jet stream is now straightened out and going to steer the storm well out to sea to really affect anyone in the Northeast. Maybe some snow showers by this weak Clipper system that's moving through, which was cited as a contributing factor to this potential snowstorm. However, it won't be anything major, as I'd say like 3 to 4 inches at best in the interior Northeast as of right now. However, the next snowstorm that I want to point out is this Clipper system coming off the Midwest, because it's definitely something interesting to watch, since it's gonna pack in a decent amount of moisture and cold air with it, as throughout the week entirely you're going to see below average temperatures throughout pretty much the eastern half of the United States, where the jet stream is going to dip just far south enough to bring a lot of that Arctic air further southward. So expect temperatures, I would say 10 degrees below average throughout the northern Midwest and the Northeast. So keep that in mind. However, I want to point out this low pressure system because it's not only expected to bring even more cold air and even a more extended period of cold air throughout the United States, it's also going to bring a decent amount of precipitation with it, and there's going to be just enough of a jet stream dip to really induce a lot more convection associated with this low pressure system, and it would affect the Midwest around 5 days from now, and then eventually head into the Northeast and potentially bring even more snowfall to the Northeast. However, like I keep saying, we're 5 days out from the forecast. A lot could definitely change. If we take a look at what the European model is saying around 5 days from now, you see that while it does bring a snowstorm throughout the Midwest, it isn't nearly as broad or pronounced as a GFS. However, the fact that they're both bringing at least some sort of precipitation in a very similar orientation, where the storm is pretty much facing in a diagonal direction, facing northeastward, then there got to be at least some sort of certainty with this, that there's going to be at least some sort of snow. in the Midwest, and this could extend further and further into the Northeast and bring maybe a major snowstorm for some of you guys in the Northeast. We have to determine how far south this low pressure will go, because obviously one of the big questions when it comes to Northeast snowstorms is how much cold air there will be, because obviously in the Northeast they're at a big disadvantage compared to, let's say, the Midwest, because in the Northeast they're very close to warmer water, which raises up the temperature along the coast and prevents more snowstorms from impacting a lot of the coastal regions in the Northeast. So definitely we need to keep in mind of how much cold air there will be, how far that dip will be to determine how much snow would affect the Northeast. However, from the Midwest, it's almost becoming certain that you guys will experience some sort of snowstorm from this, and it could potentially be significant if just enough unstable air is located in the Midwest by the time this Clipper system moves through. So it's definitely something to keep and watch throughout the Midwest, especially since you're experiencing a snowstorm right now and the one before that, as it could add insult to injury based off of how much snow you already experienced through the Midwest and the Northeast. And yeah, but anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.